Hey everybody, and welcome back to the board meeting. Today we are continuing with the alphabet series, and today's letter is C. So we're doing my top 10 C games. And this list might be one of the strongest lists that are going to be on this alphabet series. There are a lot of great C games for me that I really, really love. In fact, when I was looking at this list today, I'm like, I think all 10 of these games were on my top 100 games list when I made that a few months back. So 10 games from one letter that made my top 100, that's great. These are fantastic games that I really have liked over the years. And before we get into the 10, we're going to do a quick honorable mentions list just because these were just on the outskirts. So just going through those really quickly here. We've got Caper Europe, Camel Up, Court of Miracles, Cartographers, and Cosmic Colonies. Those were just on the outside looking in, so I figured those are worth mentioning as well because I really like those ones too. So let's get into number 10. And number 10 is a small little game, the easiest game on this list, but it's one that I've played so many times over the years. It's been a game that I feel like I've championed it a lot. And this is Cabo 2nd Edition. And this is just a memory style little tiny card game where you have 4 cards in front of you. At the beginning of the game, you get a look at 2 of these, and you are trying to make the smallest numbers in front of you, the smallest total sum of cards in front of you. So on your turn, you're just going to be drawing a card and either replacing one of your cards that are in those 4, and you get a look at 2 of them, and they go face down still, so it's got that memory aspect to it. So you can replace one of the cards that you have, or you can discard it. Some of them that you're discarding, you're going to get a special ability for, and it's just like Peek, where you can look at one of your cards, or you can look at another person's card, or you might get a swap ability where you can take one of your cards and swap them with other people's, and you're just trying to get the lowest total sum of cards in front of you. Very, very simple game, but it's one that I've showed so many people, and I still really like it. I still enjoy it to this day. I play it at least once or twice a month. Still, it's one of the games that I've played more than any other game because it's just so consistently making it to the table. But it's just small, fun little card game that I feel like should be in almost everybody's collection. So number 10 is Cabo. Going to number 9, we go from a small little game to a big game. This is Champions of Midgard. This is a worker placement game that you are going to be going and gathering these dice warriors, I suppose they are, and you're going to be using these warriors to roll against these different enemies like trolls and sea monsters and stuff. And it's very much like this Euro game, gathering up resources, using these resources to get other things. But there's also that dice element where you're going to be rolling these dice warriors against these things, and it's a good combination. It's a nice hybrid game that I really, really like. And yeah, number 9, Champions of Midgard. Going to number 8. Number 8 is a big box game, but it's more like a filler game, for sure a filler game. This is Caesar's Empire. This is a relatively new game. I think it came out 2022, if I'm not mistaken, and it's very, very simple. It's a big box game, but you play this game in literally 15 to 20 minutes. In this game, you're just going, on your turn, you're just going to be placing out one of your roads, and you're going to either start a new road from Rome, I believe it is, or Paris, I think it's Rome, or you can add on to another road that's already in play. And then everybody who's got a road miniature on that route that you extended onto gets a point for every miniature that they have on that particular road. So you're going to be adding to this road, and maybe you get 3 points, but maybe someone else has a bunch of miniatures on that road, so they get 5 points. But you're just going to be just always constantly just placing a road out and collecting a different type of resource, and it's got this resource, the set collection aspect to it. Very, very simple game, very fast paced. It is a game that it's basically replaced Ticket to Ride to me, because it gives me that feel of Ticket to Ride, just the route building of it, but it's so fast, like 15-20 minutes, where Ticket to Ride takes over an hour or so to play. This is just fast turns, fun, quick game, 15 minutes, big mega filler game, basically. So number 8, Caesar's Empire. Going to number 7. Number 7 is more like a collection of games, a certain type of game. This is Clank Legacy Clank Legacy Acquisitions Incorporated, but there's a bunch of other Clank games. There's regular Clank, then there's Clank in Space, then there's Clank Catacombs, and I enjoy all of them. The Legacy game is fantastic. It is just a deck building game, pushing your luck. You're going, going down into this dungeon area and gathering up more points, but you're also going to be getting hit by this dragon that's going to be attacking you. And so you're like, okay, I want to stay down there and get a couple more points, but I need to get out or else I'm going to die, and then you don't get any points. So it's a fun little push your luck aspect to this deck building game, deck building system. As now there's 4 games in the series, and I think they're coming out with the second Legacy edition, which I'll eventually get to that and play that. But I just think it's a great game. You pick your poison for this one. The Legacy game's great. Out of the other 3, I'd probably say the newest one is my favorite, Clank Catacombs. But you're not going to go wrong with any of these games, I don't think. So yeah, number 7, Clank Legacy Acquisitions Incorporated. Going to number 6. Number 6 is a very popular Euro-style game. This is the Castles of Burgundy. This is I can't remember where it is in the BGG now, but it's a very, very popular game. It is this Euro-style game where you're going to be adding these tiles onto your own personal player mat. These tiles are going to have buildings on them, and they're going to have special abilities, and you're going to be able to do those special abilities when you place these. And it's very thinky of how you want to place these out. And it's just a fun game, and it's every time I get the Castles of Burgundy out, I'm like, this is such a good, solid game, and I've really enjoyed it. Every time I break it out, I'm like, gosh, this should probably get broken out more, but the fact is, it's not like the best looking game out there. So I break it out, and I'm like, yeah, it doesn't look the greatest, but mechanically, it is so sound and fun for myself. So number 6, the Castles of Burgundy. Number 5 is a game that came out a couple years ago now, and it was another very popular game. This is Cascadia. In this game, you are going to be collecting different territory tiles, adding them to your board, but you're also going to get these animals and placing these animal tokens on specific tiles that they can go on, and all the animals are going to score in a unique way. All of them score, and there's a bunch of different scoring conditions that you can change the game up from game to game. The deer are going to score differently, the bears are going to score differently for this, and so on and so forth. But this game is so much fun. It's such an easy game. It's like a gateway style game. I would put it into the modern gateway games now that I really, really like. I've broken it out a lot. It has a great easy solo mode to implement that I've been able to get Cascadia to the table a lot just solo now, because it's such a good system. And I love, extending out the tiles, adding it on, and you got to think pretty hard of which tiles you're going to draft and how you're going to place them out, but then you got to think of where the animals need to be going so that they can score as well, and it's just a great game overall. So number 5, Cascadia. Going to number 4. Number 4, I talked about modern gateway games. This is I would say, my modern choice for gateway game that I break out all the time. This is Century Golem Edition, which is the same thing as Century Spice Road, but just with a different theme, a more fantasy-related theme. It's a little bit more colorful compared to the Spice Road version. It looks like a very bland Euro-style game, where Century's got that fantasy theme. You've got gems instead of spice, a little bit more colorful. And I enjoy the Golem Edition more, but they're the same exact game, and either or game works perfectly. And this game it's very simple, very straightforward. You're going to be collecting gems, using these gems in order to buy these golems, which are going to score points. But these cards there's different abilities on the cards. You might be using cards to just gain gems, just straight up gaining gems, or you might be playing a card to trade certain gems with other gems. And you're building your deck out as you're going, adding cards into your hand, and it's got that system where you're playing as cards, but then on one of your turns you have to rest, where you get all the cards back into your hand. And I really like that mechanic in games where you're just playing cards out as long as you can until you decide you're going to rest and just take all your cards back into your hand. And it's one of those games that I can't remember when this game came out, but it's a few years ago now. But it still gets to the table probably 20 times a year, still to this day. So once or twice a month, it seems like I get to play this game. So number 4 is Century Golem Edition. Going to number 3. Number 3 is a small card game that I've talked about a lot over the years. It got a lot of praise right away. It's kind of been the start of like a renaissance for trick-taking games, as Mike Delisio would say. This is The Crew, The Quest for Planet 9. It is a cooperative trick-taking game where you're trying to get certain people to win certain tricks that have specific cards in them. And it's got this limited communication game. It was actually the first game that I played that used trick-taking. And since then, I'm like, I really like trick-taking games. So every time like a new trick-taking game comes out, I'm like, I would like to play that. Now there's getting more like a pretty big abundance of trick-taking games where some like are very, very much similar to other ones. But this is what started trick-taking games for myself. This is what got me interested into that genre, that mechanic of games. And it's just such a solid game. And it's one of those games where like games of this take a couple minutes because you're playing a scenario in this. There's 50 different scenarios in a book. You choose one and then you play that out. And it's like cookies. You can't stop at one. So you play this game and it takes a couple minutes. You're like, okay, shuffle them up and let's do it again. Shuffle them up, let's do it again. Where you sit down and you play this game, you don't play it for a couple minutes. You play this game for a couple hours because you're going to go through several scenarios. You're trying to get further and further into the book because the further you go, the harder the scenarios are. And yeah, it's just a great, great little game. So number 3, The Crew, Quest for Planet 9. Going to number 2. Number 2 is a very highly underrated game, in my opinion. This is Castel. This is a big, heavy game, Euro-style game. In this game, you are playing as a troupe of castellers, which castelling is making big, giant human pyramids, basically. And it's a sport. I believe it takes place in Catalonia. I think. I'm pretty sure. But you are just going around this board, going to different locations, getting these different castellers to add to your own troupe of castellers, and then you're trying to build these human pyramids the best you possibly can. But there are rules in this game of how you can build these pyramids, and you can only build them 3 high, 3 tall, and you need to have the bigger ones on bottom, and you need to have only 3 wide at most, and the next level can only have less than that, so it'd be 3, 2, and 1. But throughout the game, you're going to practice certain skills and basically allow yourself to break the rules in the game, and that's how you can end up building these huge giant pyramids, towers that are 10 people tall instead of the 3 that you were limited before. And so it's such a thinky, fun game. And after this game, like you teach this game and then you play it and you're like, this is the end of the night game, because after you play Castel, my brain's kind of fried for the moment. So I'm not going to be able to play a game probably after this, but it's so good. It's so thinky. And I just don't think it really got the love it deserved, because it's definitely pretty high on the BGG list. It's way, way, way down there. It didn't get that much love from when it came out, but there are a couple of us that really like this game. It has been in my top 10 games of all time ever since it came out. So it's been up there for a while. It came out a few years back, but I absolutely adore this game. So number 2, Castel. Going to number 1. Number 1 is a dice worker placement game, and I love dice worker placement games, and this is my favorite dice worker placement game. This is Circadian's First Light. This is from Garphill Games. This is by Sam McDonald, the team that does he teams up with Shem Phillips to do the West Kingdom and the South Tigris series. In this game, you are just going to be placing out these dice as your workers, going to different spots, and you are rolling these dice, and at the beginning of the round, without anybody being able to see, you're going to choose basically if you want to send those dice out and take up different spots on the worker placement aspect of it, or you're going to send them to your own farm and collect resources. And resources are really tight in this game. The fact is, the thing that really, really makes this one jump up to one of my all-time favorite games, though, is the special ability of your specific characters that you're playing as for those games. It's one of those games, if you get these characters, and the characters and abilities are amazing. They are super strong. You're like, this character breaks this game, but you're breaking the game in this way. Every time someone takes a turn and they do something, you're like, how do you do that? And, they're like, that's my player power. And you're like, wow, that is crazy. It's broken. The game's broken. And then you take your turn and they're like, how did you do that? I'm like, well, that's my character ability. And they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. But the characters are so powerful, and that's what really, I love games that give you super powerful characters where you just break the game. And it's just one of those, that's so much fun. I break it out pretty regularly. It just came out with a new expansion that I thought was amazing because it didn't really make the game that much more complex, just added more to the game that I already love. So my number one C game is Circadian's First Light. And that will complete this list for C. I'll be making the D list here coming in a couple days, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Make sure to comment down below some of your favorite C games out there. Either way, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe to see more weekly content from me, Shane, at the board meeting in the future. Hope you all have an amazing day. Take care.